into Minneapolis for Super Bowl 20 are now a shade of green, as in Dennis Green. And the Twin Cities experiences quite a sports weekend. Don't flip out. We'll untangle things coming up on Sports Fan Sunday.
Live from Champs in Minnetonka, K-Fan and KMSP Sports presents Sports Fan Sunday. Now, Eric Nelson and Jim Gilliland.
Welcome live to Champs in Minnetonka Sports Fan Sunday. We're happy to be with you as the been a great weekend of sports in the Twin Cities. I'm Jim Gilliland along with Eric Nelson, and 4 winning teams, 4 sellouts yesterday, and now the world's attention is focusing on Minnesota as Buffalo and Washington get set to battle in the Super Bowl. Let's tell you about what we have to come tonight on Sports Fan Sunday. As you saw a moment ago, Dennis Green is the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. A bit of a surprise as we sat here this time last week, we did not know that Dennis Green was in the picture. And the 2 best teams in football will be coming to the Metrodome. The Buffalo Bills and Washington Redskins did it through the regular season. They did it in the playoffs. And now they're going to do it in Minneapolis. We'll hear what fans think about hosting the Super Bowl and whether it's all worth it. Norman Green, the high-profile owner of the Minnesota North Stars, will be our guest to show you just how Buffalo and Washington arrived here and take a look at what we think will happen, perhaps, on Super Bowl Sunday. The Super Bowl Task Force has its work cut out for it. We'll visit with them and check in on the winning basketball teams, the Timberwolves and Gophers, both rallying this weekend with important victories. Let's introduce our guests to you now, our fellow panelists. First of all, on my left is Charlie Hallman, the second visit to Sports Fan Sunday for the St. Paul Pioneer Press sports writer and current University of Minnesota beat man. Charlie, welcome. We'll get his thoughts on the big sweeps this weekend for Gopher hockey and then the Gopher basketball team with their impressive comeback yesterday. And Mark Zelinovich, he of KFAN Radio, of Z and McKay in the morning, and soon to be,
I would hate to start the show with a plug, but of course starting January 25th on this very station at 10:30, this Stretch and Z program will return to the air. So I wouldn't plug it though as a guest here tonight.
Well, we'll look forward to that. The 25th, the eve of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl will be kind of anticlimactic after we see Z and Stretch, or Stretch and Z.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there's bigger news than the Z and Stretch show coming up on Channel 9. The front page story tonight on Sports Fan Sunday, the greening of the Vikings. Norman Green now is not the only green in Minneapolis-St. Paul. Dennis Green named the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings Friday. And here's Dennis's reaction from Winter Park in Eden Prairie.
I'm extremely excited to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Look forward to playing some fantastic football. I know we have some tremendous talent on this football team. We've had some great years in the 80s, and we're looking forward to having some championship years in the 90s. My uniqueness at the Minnesota Vikings, there are 2 guys that I've known for a long time, Jerry Reichow and Frank Gilliam. I mean, a long time, being ex-Hawkeyes, and also a gentleman I've learned to respect so much, having just met him, and Roger Hedrick. And that's really the uniqueness of this position for me. I think there's some tremendous talent on this football team. There has been. I think there are big play players here. There are tremendous defensive players here. The first, second, and third not being here is not something new. It's been that way for a few years now. I think they have a tremendous department in personnel that has the ability to find top talent, whether it would be the 4th, 5th, 6th round. And again, those 1, 2s, and 3 will be here pretty quickly. So I'm excited about it because we're a team, and there's a certain amount of transition in the Central Division right now. I think it's an ideal time to come in. I think it's an ideal time for the Minnesota Vikings to get back on top. Let me just say this, motivation is an interesting word. I believe in desire, which is what you want. I believe in dedication, which is the price you want to play. And I believe in determination, which is how many times you can get your ass knocked off and get back up and fight again. If you got those 3 things, you're probably motivated. And if that's what motivation means, then I kind of like it. But I'm not going to go around and try to sell people that I'm here to motivate people. I think that our idea is to play good football and to be a real sound, real solid, real technically proficient football organization.
So Dennis Green is the 5th head coach in Vikings history now, and the first one to come in as an outsider since Bud Grant back in 1967. it sent some shockwaves throughout the community. Mark Selenovich, a week ago, he was not even the front runner, at least in the minds of some in the media.
Well, the question that I think has to be asked, though, is the terms under which he was hired, why could they not have waited a couple of days to talk to Bill Parcells? Why not check out Parcells, see if he's available, tell Dennis Green we'll get back to you Monday, and check into a proven winner?
Well, here's a guy sitting with a Stanford football team. He's right in the middle of recruiting. He doesn't want to do that to his kids. He wants to get it over with and done as fast as possible. When I used to know Dennis pretty well, he was a Northwestern football coach playing in WASP, Happy Dyke Stadium, with no indoor football complex, not even a full complement of scholarships, but he was a very good coach. He's a real nice human being, and he's real bright. I think he's going to do real well here, probably as well as the other fellow named Green who came here a couple of years ago. These carpetbaggers do pretty well here in the Twin Cities.
Didn't want to wait around for Bill Parcells. He proved he didn't really want to coach. He had piles of money waiting for him in Florida and in Wisconsin, piles of cheese too, no doubt, and chose not to accept them. And I don't know why piles of snow would have been any more intriguing to Bill Parcells. Dennis Green, though, I think brings some question marks. Certainly highly recommended personally, but his head coaching record, albeit on the college level, is nothing to get excited about. Last year's Stanford team, the only winning team that he has coached as head coach in 7 years or 6.
But you got to remember, he had two liberal institutions that he coached at. They hired him probably because he was a black guy, and he took each of those programs to a respectable stage. For Northwestern to do well as they did while he was there was very good. He was named Coach of the Year once. He brought Stanford all the way back to the level that they had when Walsh was the coach there, and he did a better job than John Elway's dad did.
Jack Elway. I think he was hired, though, at Stanford because he's a football coach. I think his experience underneath Bill Walsh, the genius, the tag they always call Bill Walsh, twice at San Francisco, those are credentials that you can't ignore, and I think you've got to throw out the record at Northwestern. 10 wins in 3 years at Northwestern. Rockne, Lombardi, Shula, you name them, they would not have won much more there. That's a football graveyard. People go there and they die. Dennis Green left the program at Northwestern in better shape than when he got there. I like the move. Winds have changed now at Eden Prairie. Fresh air there, somebody from the outside. Pete Carroll simply a victim of a guy who was in the Jerry Burns regime. Roger Hedrick wanted to just get new blood in there, and I applaud him for the move.
That's a very intelligent comment, and I think you're absolutely right. I think you're right about the winds of change. I think sometimes that's real good to bring in somebody from the clear outside and to start over again. This guy Hedrick wants to make his mark in the team, and he's made a very good start, a very impressive one. Now let's see if he ditches the scouting staff, if he ditches the old coaches, or if he melds in the new and the old. If he does that, he's very intelligent because they do have some very high-quality people out there.
What about the theory that was put forth, in fact, by Patrick Royce, that no matter what happens, whether Dennis Green is a good coach, a bad coach, indifferent, the precedent that's been set here is that Roger Hedrick can't be trusted by the media to tell the truth to anyone?
I think Green, one thing I like about him is he's indicated a willingness to work with other people, and that's important. He wants to work with Rycom Gillum. He didn't want to come in, tear everything apart, and start doing everything himself.
But what about Roger Hedrick?
Let's remember, though, Roger Hedrick's first responsibility is not to us, not to the fans, it's to the football team. We can question the way he handled this. He got Dennis Green.
Well, I don't think Roger Hedrick really even told that much of a fib. He was still dickering with 2 or 3 possibilities, when it was forthcoming, he was more than good, and he was more than helpful to everybody in the news media and told them what was going on then.
No use questioning it now. Dennis Green is the Vikings head coach. We're out of time in our front page segment. Now stick around because coming up, we'll have our fans speak out, and later on in the show, Norman Green, the owner of the North Stars, will be with us on Sportsman Sunday.
How do you get to the airport? Airport Sedan, the taxi alternative, and Limousines Limited can replace the hassles of traffic, parking, taxis, and carrying your luggage long distances with the convenience, comfort, and affordability of one of our sedans or limousines. And when you return, we'll meet you curbside in front of your flight's baggage carousel. Around town, our chauffeur-driven sedans and limousines offer a great way to have meetings on the move and make the most of your time. And yes, we can serve your personal entertaining needs with the same luxury and style. Call 341-4141 and let us tell you more. That's 341-4141.
Oh, forgot to add the softener sheet.
If only she knew about Solo. You can't forget the softener in Solo, because Solo is detergent and fabric softener in one. Look, these muddy sweatshirts came out clean, but Solo's clean is so soft, it's fluffed up higher.
Wait.
Next time,
I missed it.
get Solo. It cleans with a softness you can't forget.
We're on our honeymoon.
And you're eating oatmeal. You never ate mine.
This is oatmeal raisin crisp. Lisa showed me no other cereal has a delicious flake like this.
How nice.
Crispy flakes topped with a brown sugar and rolled oat crunch.
Really?
Mixed with raisins and almonds.
Oatmeal raisin crisp.
Taste it.
Oatmeal crisp, oatmeal raisin crisp.
Pretend I'm not here.
John Hines here with the new K102 lottery. It's your chance to win cash and Super Bowl tickets. Check your mailbox. It's coming soon. From today's hot country, K102.
When was
All of a sudden, he started attacking me.
the last time
She's a pathological liar.
you lost $5,000
She ruined our wedding night.
in 30 minutes?
I was in a state of shock.
Somebody turned up the heat on the People's Court. Weekdays at 11:30 on Receptive Channel 9.
We are back in Minnetonka at Champs on Sports Fan Sunday, our 6th edition as we continue to roll along on this program. And it's time now for our Fans Speak Out segment. As most of you know, unless you live on Jupiter, Buffalo and Washington are the combatants for Super Bowl 26, 2 weeks from today in Minneapolis at the Metrodome. We decided to ask some of the fans around the Twin Cities if they're excited about the Super Bowl coming to Minneapolis.
I'm not excited about it coming here because the locals are not participating in it. It's an event which we're locked out of. And I think it's just for the NFL muckety-mucks, and that's all that's going to be celebrating it.
I believe that the Super Bowl is actually good for the Twin Cities. I believe that it puts the Twin Cities on the map. It shows people who and what we are, the type of city that we have. And I believe that any event that brings people to the cities will help business here. And today we need everything we can to help the business in the cities.
I like it very much. I think it's interesting, and we've had a lot of things that have occurred in Minnesota, like Stanley Cup and the championships, you know, like the NCAA, and I'm just proud that we're representatives for the Super Bowl.
I think it's great. I think it's great for the cities to have the bowl coming, and I think it'll be a lot of fun for the city.
Well, I like the game. I like the hoopla. I like all the activities that go with it.
It's going to bring more other people in from the two teams that do end up playing, so it's good, you know, publicity. And I think there's still going to be a big interest because it is the Super Bowl. That's a big thing.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's too bad the Vikings couldn't have been in it, but I guess everybody kind of feels that way. It's good for our economy and stuff. I hope the people that show up here don't mind the snow.
This event is a little bit unique because no local team is involved, so there's going to be fans here streaming. I guess 10,000 tickets are sold locally. Guys, what do you think of hosting the Super Bowl? Is it something is that economic benefit thing overworked?
For me, it's no biggie. I probably won't be involved in it, but it's not fun like a Stanley Cup or a World Series where most of the fannies in the seats belong to your next door neighbor or the guy down the street, and it's not our guys that the fans are allegedly supposed to cheer about. It's a big national event. It's kind of like having an all-star game, but there's no local identity other than maybe a few local sports writers or a few local sports broadcasters being involved in pre-production or hanging out.
Yeah, I find for me it's somewhat of a nuisance because we're expected as all these dignitaries to come to town to roll out the red carpet, as it were, and so many of them come into town for the whole weekend, and the first thing out of their mouth when they get to the airport is, what night does the Stretch and Z program debut on Channel 9? And then I have to tell them, it's the 25th at 10:30 on Channel 9, and then they say, well, can we have a ride to the studio? And I have to personally go out and get them, bring them to the show.
Has anybody ever told you that you're a little bit of a self-promoter?
No, I really wouldn't do that because enough people know that the Stretch and Z program debuts on the 25th at 10:30 on Channel 9 that I really don't have to promote it.
Did he ever tell you that he did a morning show too? He does.
Yeah, he does one with Pat McKay, who's a real good guy and a baseball card collector, and Tracy Vanelli, who's a lot more attractive than either one of them.
Any other part-time jobs?
Did I happen to mention that the Z and McKay radio program?
No, we're not going to get into this anymore.
We're off track.
Cut this
the
guy
Super
out.
Bowl. It's a corporate game. Let's be honest about it. I mean, it's big bucks, all that stuff, but it's still an opportunity for the Minnesota business community, the hotels, and people like that to reap in on the benefits. Hotels are booked in Rochester.
It's an opportunity for Kurt Carlson,
it's good.
Marilyn Nelson, all these people
I like it.
to get their jollies.
You don't like it? Don't watch the game. Don't tune in. There's still other things that the Joe average fan can do. There's the NFL experience that'll be at the Minneapolis Convention Center. You can actually race against a beam of light that is simulated at the speed of Darryl Green of the Redskins and see just how fast you are or how slow you are. It's like a Disneyland for the
just
NFL.
like being in the NFL.
Yeah.
I was unaware until attending a warm-up party the other night just how many people are involved working on this thing, trying to build this positive image for the Twin Cities, and their goal, the one that they want to be reviewed for, is to make this the best Super Bowl ever. Now that's kind of I don't know how you figure out if you did that other than to get your report card from the NFL.
And they're very meticulous, though. They're worried about what happened in Pontiac, snowstorms. They actually had a couple of people died in Pontiac when the Super Bowl was in Detroit. They fell off the back of a pickup. Bad road conditions. There was a traffic jam before the game there. So Marilyn Nelson and company have done a lot of work to try to make sure that the Twin Cities comes off flawless. They're worried, I think, more about the national written word and spoken word than so much what the Joe Blow thinks.
Well, we're lucky Governor Perpich isn't still around, or he'd have built a dome over the Twin Cities.
The way I look at it, it's a successful Super Bowl as long as Up With People is not part of the halftime.
Say we have 20 below, though, and it's reviewed poorly by the national media, hurting Clem Haskins and Jim Wacker's recruiting.
How can it be reviewed terribly by the national media? They already know what they're going to do. They're going to pull it off because they're professionals that are running the show. The NFL isn't going to do anything to tarnish its image. They're building skyways right up to the dome. These people are never going to have to go outside. How could our image be tarnished? They're building the most beautiful ice castle that's ever been built in St. Paul.
Charlie,
we're on my side of the Berlin Wall.
Ice Palace.
Well, it's a
man-made.
Ice Palace.
Just thought I'd clear that up for you.
So it's over on our side of the Berlin Wall, okay? You guys can venture over there once in your lives, see it, and it'll be beautiful. St. Paul always goes all out for these things.
St. Paul gets the AFC team, too, so your responsibility, Buck Hallman, is to make sure Bruce Smith and the Bills have a good time Super Bowl week. We've already given them your name.
And what about the that NFL experience thing the week before, though? Now, I understand that's something where the fans can go to the convention center, experience what it's like to be an NFL player or something. They've got like a simulated Anderson Lakes Parkway there and a little Viking sweater. And you can ride a little car and be stopped by a patrolman.
All that
What
and more.
it's like
the
to be an
experience.
NFL player?
Yeah.
It's like having a big fat guy like me jump on you from about 5 feet up in the air, land on your back, and you're feeling squished. That's what it's like to be an NFL player.
And then they give you $1 million for it.
Yeah, they get a lot of money for it, but fat guys like me can do little guys like you a lot of damage.
All right, Mr. Big Guy there. We got to go to a break here. We're through with this portion of the show. Coming up on Sports Fan Sunday, it's going to be Norm Green, the owner of the Minnesota North Stars. He will get to be grilled by Buck Hallman, Mark Shalenovich, and the rest of our panel here on Sports Fan Sunday.
Look at those pancakes. Too bad you're cutting down on fat, remember? But hey, those were made with Bisquick Light. They have 30% less fat and one great taste. New Bisquick Light. Yes! We make it easy to say yes.
Come on, Betty. Make my meal. These scalloped potatoes, so creamy, piping hot, real Idaho russets.
I like them a lot.
Betty's Easy Scalloped, the potatoes that make the meal.
Menards can help you save on your bath remodeling projects. Medallion vanities are on sale now. Choose from traditional or European styling to complement your new bath, starting at only $59.99. And add the finishing touch with Price Fister faucets. They're durable, stylish, and easy to install. This chrome faucet is just $19.99 after mail-in rebate coupon. Remodel your bath and save at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
KFAN, Minnesota's #1 sports fan.
Sports Radio, 1130, KFAN, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Minnesota's sports fan.
Hi, I'm John Hines, and weekday mornings you can hear me here on K102 FM. But Saturday night you can see me on...
Airbags are great when you're hit from the front. But if somebody says you don't have to buckle up anymore...
Tell them they're full of hot air.
You're going to learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
You're right.
We're back here on Sports Fan Sunday, and the center of attention is the venerable owner of the Minnesota North Stars, Norman Green, live at Champs in Minnetonka.
How do you like that outfit? Gee, Christmas.
Yeah, I thought my sweater was going to take
but
over the
it's not
TV.
quite as spectacular like that. The fans can't see it, but he really does have an eagle on the back of that black.
Black is the hot sports color these days. He's trendy.
He's got a hockey team that's crawled back up to 500 yet again, and I know that you want to ease them over that mark to stay this season. Do you think it's coming? Do you feel
You know,
it
Jim, it's an amazing thing. Bob Clark told me today that this franchise has only been over 500 only 8 times in its whole 25-year history. We hope that we're hardly ever, if ever, less than 500, and that's even almost a base. We want to be far better than that, and we will be. I think we're starting to pick up a momentum now for the last half of the season.
We had 4 consecutive sellouts.
That's good.
Do you think the fans are sensing that this team's coming together?
I think they are. Sellouts happen because of a combination of a number of things. The most important thing is the community is really a good hockey community. And then our team is playing well and hard, and we had a good year last year, and then our front office is doing the right thing in encouraging groups and people to come. So the report card to the success of any sports business is the attendance. And the attendance last year was a disaster, so we were a disaster. And this year, it's not perfect yet. We've had 4 sellouts in a row, but it's not 15 or 40. But we're getting there. But we're pretty proud of the progress.
Is it extra pleasing to know that last night you had the Wolves playing, Gopher basketball in the day, Gopher hockey at night? They all sell out, including you guys, against the expansion Sharks, not exactly the Canadians as a draw.
That's right. Well, but you know, that's a perfect answer to the statement that was made to me several times when I first came here. The reason the North Stars can't survive is there's too much competition in this market. That's absolutely wrong. There's not too much competition in the market. This is a sophisticated, good sports market, and if you give them a good product, they'll all be there. And last night was a good example of that.
Now, how much of people look at the sellouts like that, and it's like it was, 8, 10 years ago when people are turning out there every night. The question they inevitably ask at this point is, if we can't get into the building, when does pay-per-view come for all games, including home games? Is that something that's on the horizon?
Yeah, we consider pay-per-view is like an extension of the arena. We have 15,000 seats there. When we're sold out every night, it'll be on every night, so that that anybody who A, can afford to come and will share a pay-per-view cost, which will be reasonable if a few people split it, anybody can see the game. And we're hoping that'll happen within the next year or two.
The high school hockey tournament is now at Met Center. You've taken some criticism for swiping it from Buck Hallman and the guys over there.
Yeah. I haven't said a word about it yet.
I will, trust me.
I will, but I'm interested in one thing from Norm. You're no novice in this business. You were with Calgary when they made a challenge to win the Stanley Cup. You had your own team close to winning the Stanley Cup last spring. Are you where you want to be personnel-wise right now? Do you feel like this team is going to, win or get to the 100-point level in the regular season in a year or two?
Yeah, I more important than anything is that the people that make things happen, Bob Clark and Bob Gainey, I think are the best in the business. And last year in February, about a year ago, when we were in bad shape, somebody said, do we have the ability to win the Stanley Cup? And I said, we have the capacity to win it. which was a kind of a silly statement at that time, except that we did have the capacity to win it, and that kind of leadership. Do we have the right people in place? Probably we do, but we have some good kids in the system, and Bob Clark will make whatever changes are necessary, because his goal is different than some other people. A lot of people feel that they have to build for the future. Bob Clark's goal, and I agree with it, I didn't before, but I do now, is that he wants to win a Stanley Cup every single year. He wants it this year. He thinks he can win it this year, and that's what he's going to go
type
after.
of player he was. You know,
Exactly.
that's what type of intensity he had.
Exactly. And Gainey as well.
Some people were down on the team for not picking up where they left off at the end of last year. But realistically, with a 68-point season last year, maybe the Stars overachieved a little bit in the playoffs. They have it built up to a more realistic improvement right now. They're at 500, which would be an 80-point season if they keep that pace, and you're expecting more than that. So you can't be too disappointed with.
Well, I am disappointed. I know that our team is far better than we showed at the beginning, first half of the season. First half is a lot better than we've done for a long time, that we have 500 now. But the signs are very good. Our players are starting to play better. Gagné is starting to play. Bellows is starting to play better. Tenorti is back and healthy. This young man, Hatcher, who at 19 years old is going to be one of the best defensemen in the league, we're convinced, is back now. And so things are building. And where we had 500 for the first half of the season, it was a very, very disappointing first half. It's amazing for us to be disappointed with a 500 where we've never had that for very long. But we are, and I think we're building, and I think we'll be far better than that.
Now, your leading scorer is Brian Bellows with 42 points, yet trade rumors have just swirled around him all year. You've been at the center of some of those. Fill us in on what his future is with the Stars.
Well, in principle, anytime Bob Clark's philosophy, and again I agree with it, and I would never stand in his way because he's the hockey expert, is that we are a team, and our goal is to win the Stanley Cup. And anytime we can improve towards that end, you must do it. And Brian was playing below his capacity, and if he had stayed below his capacity, he would have been traded. And there's no way you trade a Brian Bellows the way he's playing now. He has the capacity to be one of the best players in the league.
Of course.
But we need him to play the way he's playing now and the way he played in the playoffs. And I think he will. But it was more of a disappointment than anything else. But had Brian played poorly this year, he would have been traded. But it looks like he's never going to have to. I hope we never have to.
The hot rumor out of the East Coast this last week involved Brian Bellows going to either New Jersey or New York in a complicated three-way deal that would bring Eric Lindros to the North Stars.
Well, I guess if you had to trade Brian as much as I love him for Eric, I think you might do it. You'd have to take a little less in your salary for us to be able to bring Eric here, though.
Would you include the dogs in that trade?
The dogs don't go, no.
Or the jacket.
Norm, your key guy last year when you're making your run was the aircraft carrier you had back there on defense, Tenorti. He got banged up bad. What percentage do you think he's back now?
You know, I don't know, but he's playing very well now. If he's not 100%, he's in the 90s. He's okay. And I've never heard any of the coaches talk about being worried about his health, so they're pretty confident that he's okay.
I mean, he's a many-time All-Star if he can stay healthy.
He is a very special player for us that makes things happen. But he and Hatcher are the two guys that can make our defensive core far more offensive. And Jimmy Johnson, of course, is also very offensive. And I think that those three guys will, again, for the last half of the season, make us stronger towards about the right time, playoff time, when we seem to crank things up anyway.
Now, the division, this year, when you get to the playoffs, you may likely run into St. Louis or Chicago in the first round again if the North Stars can't catch Detroit, and they're going better as well as anybody in hockey. Will they have an emotional edge this year coming? I mean, they're the guys that are going to be looking to knock the North Stars out in the first round this year, regardless of whether the North Stars finish with fewer points. There will be plenty of incentive for either of those teams.
Well, Chicago last year went for first overall, worked really hard to get there, and they may have burnt themselves out, and we had a chance to get to beat them in the first round. By the time we got to the second round, though, we had our confidence, and we were a better team than Chicago and better than St. Louis. This year, when they beat us in the first round, they will have an opportunity to get even. But we're a better team. We're a far better team now, and will be as the season wraps up, than we were last year. So if that's the case, if we went as far as we did last year, if the same kind of conditions exist, where we get the right kind of breaks here and there, the right kind of effort, there's no reason why we shouldn't do as well. As you know as well as I do, it's how the chips fall as to whether or not you can go right to the finals. But we are a better team this year than we were last year.
If I can backtrack just a second to that high school hockey question. I mean, the change of venues has upset some people. Civic Center to Met Center. Just your comments on, how you went about getting it and your thoughts about the whole
Well,
thing.
that's an interesting thing, and of course, it's too bad that it didn't stay in St. Paul, because there is a tradition. I've always been a strong traditionalist, but it wasn't our decision to put it out for tender. It was the high school tournament that decided to put it out for tender, and once they did, we felt obligated to our community, to our fans, to do the best job we could, and we gave them a good tender. Not only was it was it a price thing, but there were a lot of other amenities that we brought to the table that the high school people liked. But my wife and I had supper at the night before last, which we often do. Our favorite spot is at the St. Paul Grill. 9 minutes from the St. Paul Grill to pick up the doggies at the Met Center. 9 minutes. I mean, somebody said, "Why did you take the tournament out of St. Paul?" I said, "I didn't. We're in St. Paul. We're just 9 minutes down the road. That's the same neighborhood as far as I'm concerned."
Well, as a St. Paulite, I can tell you that the state high school hockey tournament was started by St. Paul people. It was attended by St. Paul people, and if there wouldn't have been a city of St. Paul, there wouldn't have been a state high school hockey tournament. Those people have supported it on a sellout basis since its inception, except for the few years that it moved to Met Center, and that's what our people are concerned about. You guys out in the rich suburbs and the Mr. Stein over in Minneapolis on the other side of the Berlin Wall, you got all the dollars these days. We don't have much, and it's one little thing that we started, and we don't think that you have a right to take it away from us.
Chuck, you have to be careful how you use the "we," because I know a lot of people in St. Paul. A lot of our staff is from St. Paul, but more important than that, a lot of our fans are from St. Paul. And as you know, every game I walk the concourses, and people can say whatever they want to me, and they can attack me, they can compliment, do whatever they want. And over the last 5 or 6 games, or whenever the award was made for us to have the high school tournament, I would guess maybe 3 or 4 people at the most have come up about being concerned about St. Paul, and almost all of them saying, "I'm sorry that we've lost in St. Paul, but we're happy for you." That would have been a good time for them to criticize, but they didn't.
Well, I'm not really criticizing you for taking it. I'm criticizing the high school league for not being smart enough to realize that they wouldn't have had this wonderful tournament if it hadn't been for St. Paul.
Chaz, you made your point. I am too from St. Paul, but I would just like to see us all be one community and quit departmentalizing. And as you say, it's a short drive down the River Road to Met Center, and the tournament was great when it was there a few years ago when it got away from the Civic Center. So, North Stars against Edmonton tomorrow. Still tickets available?
Yes, there are. We have, where we've been selling out on weekends, midweeks, we're still about 11,000, 12,000, so there are some available, but hopefully that won't be true next year.
Well, if they can sell out a Monday night game with Edmonton having traded away most of their stars, well, the Stars will be back in the minds of the fans. Wednesday night, Montreal will be at Met Center. I thank Norman Green for standing by here with his wife Kelly at Champs in Minnetonka. We'll be back to talk about the day in sports and review the NFL highlights. Buffalo and Washington coming to the Super Bowl when we come back.
Come on, Betty. Make my meal.
These scalloped potatoes, so creamy, piping hot, real Idaho russets. I like them a lot.
Betty's Easy Scalloped, the potatoes that make the meal.
The guys from Pop Secret tell me they have big news. They say their kernels pop up bigger, so they're lighter and fluffier. I say they even taste better.
Pop Secret. Perfect popcorn is our passion.
Minnesota's #1 sports fan.
Sports Radio, 1130, KFAN, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Minnesota's sports fan.
A middle-aged bachelor, a mentally troubled brother.
I made this promise when I was 21.
A story of conflict.
What are you yelling for? I'm not yelling. Am I yelling? I'm not yelling.
A story of hope.
I can be normal here.
A story of caring.
I love you, DJ. You're my brother.
The winner of 5 Emmy Awards, James Garner, James Woods.
You promised, Bobby. You promised, Mama. You told her you would always take care of me.
Promise. Friday night at 7 on Receptive Channel 9.
Louis L'Amour's epic saga of a new frontier.
Yo, go on now.
A pioneer family pursued by a gang of killers.
These men want our blood.
Their only hope lies in the guts and the guns of a stranger.
Meek ain't gonna inherit nothing west of Chicago.
Sam Elliott, Kate Capshaw, Tom Conti. Louis L'Amour's Western classic, The Quick and the Dead.
Tuesday night at 7 on Receptive Channel 9.
When mental illness, child abuse, or family conflict threaten to wipe a family out, Family and Children's Service is there with the right solutions. Family and Children's Service, strengthening local families for over 100 years.
Back here at Champs in Minnetonka, Sports Fan Sunday. It's time for our review of the day in sports, and it can pretty much be summed up in 2 words: Buffalo and Washington. Those 2 teams are Super Bowl bound. The Bills will be making their 2nd Super Bowl appearance, Gilly. For the Redskins, their 5th trip to the ultimate game.
Presents an interesting matchup because Buffalo, having come so close last year, has got that on their side, but Washington looks awfully tough. Let's review the highlights from today's game, starting with the AM contest. At least it was AM Central Time when they were painting their hair and faces blue and red and white in Buffalo. They're charged up, want to get back to the game. But the Denver defense much improved this year and really throttled Jim Kelly and company early. Simon Fletcher with the sack. Denver getting some yards on offense, getting in field goal position 3 times for David Treadwell, and he missed them all, banking that one off the goal post, and Dan Reeves expressing some anger. John Elway sacked, and as he dove there, he apparently hurt his knee or thigh. They never really did get too specific during the course of that ball game, but Elway went to the sideline and really wasn't the same after that. Here's the scoring play to turn it around. 3rd quarter after a scoreless first half. Ball is tipped, and Carlton Bailey takes it into the end zone, and that got the crowd of 80,000 into the game, going crazy, anticipating the drive to the Super Bowl. It was 10-0 when Gary Kubiak came off the bench and led a touchdown drive. And with just under 2 minutes to play, Elway rooting on the sidelines, it was 10-7. They recovered an onside kick incredibly, and on the first pass attempt, Steve Sewell caught the ball but fumbled it. It went back to Buffalo, and they were able to grind out the clock and make their way to Willie Green caught a touchdown pass, Darrell Green caught a touchdown pass, Norman Green was our guest, Dennis Green is our coach, and they're all going to be coming to Minneapolis. Buffalo a 10-7 winner in a hard-fought game. Denver, if you're into the money game, covered the big spot there of 11-plus points. The other contest, Washington easily a 2-touchdown favorite. They had no problem covering that number, even though the field was good at RFK Stadium. Barry Sanders not able to get away enough, although he looked good early in the game. There's their Super Bowl matchup, Buffalo and Washington, 2 weeks from tonight. We'll be sitting here discussing the Super Bowl championship. And I guess if you're going to host the game, you might as well have the 2 best teams in football. Buffalo and Washington have led their respective conferences all year. They've got the records. Even statistically, they are the best. Let's get it on. Buck, what do you think?
Clyde Bellacourt, boy, is he happy tonight. The Redskins got in the game. He can have another protest. It'll be great. They'll be all over town protesting the Redskins, and the Redskin people will come in wearing these great big gigantic war bonnets, and everybody will be fascinated about the big controversy. I can hear that on KFAN in the morning. Z and McKay talking about war bonnets, and Ted Turner doing the chop, and it'll be just wonderful.
You know, the thing I thought was really amazing about that crowd in Washington today was, did you see that sign they were carrying around during the game, onto the show? And I thought it was, in a moment of triumph for the Redskins, very nice and altruistic of their fans to be plugging the fact that they'd be coming to Minneapolis the week that Stretch and Z debuted on Channel 9 at 10:30.
Shameless.
He will do anything, including banners at RFK. But a couple of things stand out in my mind, guys. Denver, Buffalo. Denver flat out outplays Buffalo at Rich Stadium and yet loses. I mean, David Treadwell probably would like to kick himself for missing the 3 field goals, but he would miss.
Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, there were enough follies and lowlights for the Broncos to, last a year on the NFL football follies. The Broncos outplayed them. Even Gary Kubiak had a pretty good effort, but Denver just couldn't do it when it counted. I mean, when was the last time Buffalo's offense did not score a touchdown and they still win the football game? So Buffalo goes back to the Super Bowl, first AFC team to make a return trip since Denver did it a few years back.
But Gilly, and Eric and Z, does anybody in the world think Buffalo has a chance against Washington
I
this
do.
year?
Early
You do?
spot is less than 7. I think that you're taking the public side here. Buffalo didn't look too sharp today. They gained just a little over 200
But they got
yards.
the W.
But they do have the horses that can produce offense, and Washington is not awesome defensively. If they get
Wait a
some
minute.
breaks,
No,
I think
I-
if it's a
Washington
non-turnover game, I think
Washington has the big
Washington-
hogs.
I think Washington should be favored. I don't think there's any doubt
they're
about
playing
that.
in the mud,
5 sacks, Charles.
the Hogs would have a big advantage.
Whose defense would you rather have, Washington or Denver's? And Denver shut down Buffalo pretty well today. Washington's defense, I think, is a more experienced, more coordinated defense than Denver's. Also, Denver showed you can march up and down the field on Buffalo, and if anyone can march up and down the field, it's the Washington
But
Redskins.
remember, let's look at the championship games a year ago. Buffalo annihilates the Raiders. The Giants eke out a win over the Niners. You would have thought Buffalo would beat the Giants. Well, the Redskins were dominant today. Buffalo wasn't. Maybe the Buffalo come back and win the big one.
Does anybody know who the Washington Redskins running backs are? I've heard of the posse. I've heard of all those guys. You know they're going to put it up. They're going to put it up 40 times if that's what it needs to be done. But they're going to win the game.
Yeah,
Ricky Urbans is one to remember.
Joe Gibbs
though.
is a great coach. You remember Tim Smith in the Super Bowl a few years ago ran for 200-plus yards, and we never heard from him again. It just didn't seem to matter.
You know, you're talking about
they had the
Riggs.
scheme to get the job done that day, and they'll have it. They'll have Irvins and Riggs in position to do the job.
Well, you're talking about Riggs, and the reason he's so effective, of course, is that between the 20s, Ernest Biner grinds out the yards. Then they bring in Ricky Irvins for some speed. Then they bring in Riggs for some power in between the throw. They keep these guys fresh all game long.
He knows what he's doing. He's got the
Ricky
guys in
Irvins
their
was
roles.
a steal of a draft choice. Leaves USC a year early because he and the coach Larry Smith don't get along. Charlie Casserly and Joe Gibbs dig him out of the draft. I think the only thing the Redskins did wrong today is they did not execute the Gatorade dousing of Joe Gibbs very properly. They didn't even get his hat wet.
It was
They didn't get anything wet. Norm Green could have had that leather jacket. Those guys would have doused him. It would have been perfect.
I like to see that 1 second where the coach is outraged because he's drenched and cold. And we didn't see that from Joe Gibbs.
Joe
he just
actually
laughed.
smiled, which for Joe, that's news. I mean, you're talking about a guy who didn't even know who Ollie North was when the Ollie North trial was going on. He's that zeroed into football.
He's a good coach.
Excellent
And I
coach.
think I like Washington too. No matter, I think Buffalo has a chance if the breaks fall their way. And one question I have to ask is, who will be the first scribe in town to write about Chip Lohmiller coming home?
I think it's already been written in
Well,
our
yeah, but
paper
it's gonna-
a half dozen times. I'll tell you what, though, Chip Lohmiller is a
He's a
great
kid. But you're going to have,
Absolutely
how
great.
many media are going to be here? 3,000 to 5,000?
Yeah, John Goodkin still might be the Gopher coach if the Big Ten referees wouldn't have blown
The
the
game at
call.
Indiana.
The game with Indiana. Lohmiller's field goal try was ruled no good because he kicked it too high.
He has a heck of a
He kicked
leg.
it so high they couldn't tell where it was. Actually, it went almost directly through the uprights. If you go back and look at the film, but the referee lost sight of the ball, so he ruled it no good. They lose the game 19-17 instead of win it. That would have made him 6-0. Goody would have won on to win 2 or 3 more games that year.
Any other stories you'd like to read about in the next 2 weeks? You'll get to read them all, but... is
Well,
there
how many
anything
times will we read about Scott Norwood and the botched kick last year against the Giants? And maybe he'll have a chance for redemption.
Brad Edwards being put on Plan B and now starting at safety for the Redskins.
We should read
Look forward
about
to
that.
one. Yeah.
Because
We'll
it's a
read a lot
mistake.
about the posse.
We will know everything, though. We'll know what Gary Clark eats for breakfast, what Art Monk likes to do after 12 o'clock midnight. I mean, it's 2 weeks of hype and hyperbole. Guys like Buck Holman are digging for everything.
There's always a chance to find out something you didn't know about someone, you know, like, I mean, for a lot of people don't know that Joe Gibbs likes to give his pep talks between halves with hand puppets.
And it works.
Yeah.
They've only lost twice this year. Joe Gibbs also owns a NASCAR. He's a NASCAR fan. Well, we're out of time. This segment coming up next, though, we will have the one-on-one. Paula Gottschalk, the executive director of the Super Bowl committee, went one-on-one with Jim Gilliland. We'll find out what she had to say. Coming up on Sports Fan Sunday.
Hi, we're Stretch and Z, and we'd like to talk to you about safe sex.
Oh, that's right, Stretch. You know, all too often, lonely young people get tanked up on Saturday night and wind up rolling the dice of passion, all for a moment's pleasure.
But now there's a risk-free alternative to sex. Sports Week with Stretch and Z, every Saturday night at 10:30 beginning January 25th, right here on Receptive Channel 9.
So please, take a cold shower and watch Sports Week with Stretch and Z. It's safer than sex and, well, usually funnier.
Sports Radio, 1130 KFAN. Minneapolis, St. Paul. Minnesota's sports fan.
We made it. Hey, I couldn't have gotten through physics without you.
Yeah, well, you're on your own at college.
It's not fair.
That's all right. I'm going to get a job, you know, start working, I'm saved. And I'll be in college in another year or two.
So, what do you have planned, Mike?
I think I'm going to go home and make a sandwich. Okay, man.
Support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Some kids treat Nikki like an outsider because she has epilepsy. Epilepsy doesn't make her weird or anything. She's fun to be with.
Kids with epilepsy. Let's count them in. Call the Epilepsy Foundation of America, 1-800-EFA-1000.
Just because the holidays are over doesn't mean the fun's got to stop.
All right.
This weekend, the party starts here.
Well, that's incredible.
First, cut up with best-selling writer Carrie Fisher. Then, chill with Rob Morrow of Northern Exposure. And jam to the hot licks of guitarist Andy Summers. Plus, get loose and get funky with MTV's Pauly Shore. Everybody's gonna cut loose on the Arsenio Hall Weekend Jam. Sunday night at 10:35 on Channel 9. We're live at Champs in Minnetonka with Sports Fan Sunday. Here's Gilly.
What is a Super Bowl task force, and why does it need to be in existence for 8 years? Those and other questions we put to the executive director of this year's Super Bowl Task Force Committee, Paula Gottschalk, on our one-on-one segment.
By the league was to award the Super Bowl game to Minneapolis, Minnesota.
What's all the excitement about? It's just a football game. Well, if you had been working on this project for 2 years, you'd probably feel like shouting. If you had been working on it for 8 years, as some have, you'd probably be hyperventilating. But the teams are set, the time is near, so let's see what's in store for us the next couple of weeks as the big one descends on Minnesota. How is this weekend supposed to be fun for the Twin Cityan who does not have a ticket?
Knowing that so many people aren't going to get to go to the game, we've designed a community weekend so that the people in Minnesota will get a chance to really be part of the excitement and enjoy the festivities before Super Bowl weekends happens. We're going to have a party under glass for the community that starts in the Minneapolis Skyway Systems and runs for 10 days. Starts on Friday the 17th, and everything's going to be free. There's going to be two major entertainment stages. There's going to be a quarterback toss where you can throw a Nerf or a downsized football at a target and have a chance to win an 18-foot powerboat, which is pretty nice. Something else called a trivia challenge where you can go around the Skyway, 4 locations in the Skyway, and answer sports questions and have a chance to win a pair of Super Bowl tickets or Gopher tickets or Vikings tickets or merchandise. We're going to have strolling minstrels, and that's all free, and that's all for the community, and it should be fun. I think we're excited about it because what it means to the community in terms of the economic benefits and also what it means to us in terms of fun. The community will have a good time. This is an international event, a national event, and the NFL just more or less picks the stage for their event to be played on.
When the game is over and everybody's gone, how are you going to know if you succeeded?
Well, we set out a little goal for ourselves when we started, which was that we wanted to set the standard by which all other Super Bowls are judged. And even though it's 3 weeks out, we know that we've already done it. We have done so many things. We've put in place so many things that are innovations, that are real firsts for the Super Bowl, that there's no doubt that when people come here, they're really going to be awed. From the minute they arrive to the minute they leave, they're going to know that this is a community that was excited to have them, is excited to have them, and is going to go way out of their way to make this terrific. Well, Marilyn Nelson and Mike Lynn and Harvey McKay and some people have been working on it for more than 8 years. That's how long it took them to get to get the bid. So much goes into it. When you think about it, there are probably well in excess of 15 or 20,000 people that are involved when you consider the police, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, all the hotels, the restaurants, the theaters, the people on our 28 committees. We have a small staff. We just grew in the last 4 months from 8 to 20. But there, I'd say 15 to 20,000 easily when you consider everybody that's going to play a part in making this happen. Cold is what we very well might be in January, and what we're saying is, come experience winter, we know how to do it right. And you've got a wonderful example in the St. Paul Winter Carnival. For 106 years, St. Paul has been saying, let's celebrate it, let's go out, let's have a good time with it.
You may not want to be a part of Super Bowl 26, but an awful lot of people do, and we give the Super Bowl Task Force credit for trying to get everybody involved. We'll come back and have some final thoughts, talk about the weekend that was a wild one in sports in Minnesota, when we come back on Sports Fan Sunday live from Champs in Minnetonka.
La Victoria presents Tips by Trevino.
Hi, gang. Let's work on the chip shot. First, get a good grip on your favorite chip. Now, swing down into a big bowl of La Victoria salsa. This is authentic salsa, the La Victoria way. They've been at it for 75 years. Now, nice loft. Bingo.
Try La Victoria. They've got a salsa for every taste.
You got the basics. Now all it takes is practice, practice, practice.
John Hines here with the new K102 lottery. It's your chance to win cash and Super Bowl tickets. Check your mailbox. It's coming soon. From today's hot country, K102.
Who gets what's left of father?
Nothing says loving like someone in the oven.
Harry tries to calm two bickering sisters.
Daddy always loved me best. That's a lie.
As Mac goes out of control.
Don't do it, Mac! You'll get the chair.
You'll get a charge out of their medley of mishaps.
This thing's empty.
I had to use that herb tea to test the coffee maker.
This wasn't herb tea. This was herb.
Almanac's Night Court.
Monday night at 6:30 on Receptive Channel 9.
After dating the guy forever, you think I could tell him anything. Why is this so hard? I'm really scared.
It takes a lot of guts to tell someone he's too drunk to drive. But you can do it. Just say it. Because if you don't, there may be nothing left to say.
Kevin, I'm gonna drive.
Take the keys, call a cab, take a stand. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Hello. Research indicates we Americans create too much garbage. So I have spent years developing worms that eat garbage at astonishing rates. Some eat more than others.
There's an easier way to save the world. Recycle. To find out more, dial 1-800-CALL-EDF.
You are looking at Champs in Minnetonka. This is Sports Fan Sunday on Channel 9, and we're in our final segment of the show tonight. And we can talk about a lot of things that went on over the weekend. The North Stars beating the Sharks, or the Timberwolves over the Jazz last night, or the Gopher hockey team. But I think the lead story, guys, in this grab bag segment has to be the Gopher basketball team with that scintillating win yesterday, 73-64 over 11th rated Michigan. Vashawn Leonard was the freshman who rose to the occasion. Forget about the Fab Five or whatever you want to call Michigan's tremendous class. Huge Gopher win that kind of erased that debacle in Bloomington Thursday.
You couldn't believe the turnaround. I was down there in Bloomington. I thought to myself, poor Clem is going to win about 2 games this year in the Big Ten, beating Northwestern at home and maybe Wisconsin at home. And then all of a sudden they come up with this, and it was all Vashawn Leonard. Vashawn Leonard decided he wanted to show up his buddies, Mr. Weber, who used to live in his back door. And,
neighborhood battle.
And Jalen Rose, who he went to school with. By the way, those two kids played on one of the great high school basketball teams ever. They went undefeated for 2 years, won 2 state championships, and you can see why. Jalen Rose and Vashawn Leonard had 50 points yesterday.
if Chris Webber had gone to that school too. He went to a private school.
He went to a private school because mom and dad wanted him to get good grades in high school.
And his team won the state championship in the smaller school level.
In fact, beat a team coached by Milton Barnes, now the Gopher assistant coach, and with a kid that the Gophers will have next year, David Washington, who's a 6'10 player, playing against Weber in the championship game. So it's going to get even more convoluted over the next couple of years.
In the city of Detroit, I mean, we talk about the Red Wings and the Lions and the Pistons, but their high school basketball program is now pretty much second to none. They churn them out like they churn out cars in that city.
Great high school basketball, great high school football. People from Detroit absolutely love that town, and they really care about their own kids. That's why this was a neat deal. And even the writers from the Detroit News and Detroit Free Press yesterday were very pleased because Bashan Leonard really did something neat.
Something to write about.
How about Randy Carter, though? Guy's playing with bone spurs. He can hardly walk, and he gets out there in big games like that for a few seconds at a time at least, comes through. I mean, he's got an injury that even you, Charlie, would probably lay you up.
Hey, even the Gopher women's basketball team had a pretty good day today. They played ninth-ranked Penn State within 11 points. They were 5 points down with 5 minutes to go. They've got a kid over on that team, a sophomore by the name of Caroline Shudlick from Apple Valley, who's a great player in her own right. She's leading the Big Ten in scoring. There's all kinds of very interesting things going on in the Twin Cities these days, from comedy clubs to Super Bowls to
comedy clubs
to Mark Zelenovich plugging the Stretch and Z show. Well, and Eric Nelson, don't you want to plug something? And Jimmy, you're going to be in the sports news now about, 300 nights out of the next 365?
Catch him on Receptive Channel 9. And 205, I'm on with the big right-hander, David Huffman, for those of you who want to listen.
And I have a column tomorrow in our news.
You've still got some time. You're taking Shooter's spot because Shooter gets a few days a week off. The big.
But I write every day just like he does.
It's really shameless when you plug self-promoting things like that instead of doing a public service like trying to alert the viewers that the Stretch and Z program begins January 25th at 10:30 on Channel 9.
Mark Zelenovich in his last performance on Sports Fan Sunday.
I'll tell you what, you couldn't have him on back-to-back because he'd be plugging the next show.
What about the hockey game last night, the overtime win? Did the Gophers play poorly or did UMD?
Well, I sat with Mr. Woog at the Vulcans game tonight, and he was telling me the story. Actually, until the last 3 minutes of the game, he didn't even know Duluth was in it, really. They were down 4-2, and they weren't playing well. There was a 3-on-3 situation. Derek Plante's a great player for Duluth. He gets a goal, and then he gets another one with 25 seconds to go. But it was really neat to be there to see the kids surround Doug Zamolik after he won the game. They really liked this player. I'm sorry that Norm Green had to let him go because he was a first-draft pick of the North Stars. This kid's going to be a fine NHL player for 12, 14 years. It's too bad it won't be here, but he's a good local kid, and he'll go on to do neat things the rest of his life.
A guy with a name Z who's got some class, in other words.
Well, no, I like Zelenovich. Despite the lack of class he's shown here tonight, generally he's a pretty good guy. And what I like about him is a real hockey man. He wants to get the North Star broadcast on KFan down the road here. And by the way, hello to Pooh Richardson, wherever you are. I really don't hate you. I think you're a pretty good basketball player.
2 straight for the Wolves.
3 wins in a week. I mean, let's stop the presses, guys. 2 wins over Boston. They beat the Utah Jazz last night, 101-96. The T-Wolves, a juggernaut maybe.
That's a more impressive victory than beating the injured Boston Celtics twice. I mean, they had the mailman here, they had Stockton here, they had that big, what's his name?
Mark Eaton.
Holy God, is he big.
Bigger than you, Buck.
He's a lot taller, but he's even wider. There aren't too many wide bodies like that in the NBA. There are a few of them in the NHL. They wear shoulder pads in that league.
Impressive win for the Timberwolves.
They're right where they should be. They got a new coach, new system, and all that stuff, and they're playing well. They're playing hard, so I see no problem with them. They're even with Orlando now, the team that most recently came in with them, both third-year teams. So, hey, no problem there.
The streak, though, is in jeopardy. They got to go to Phoenix tomorrow night. Then they go to Salt Lake City to play the Jazz at the brand-new Delta Center Tuesday night. So they're going to have 2 tough road games.
Okay. I need to ask you guys one question.
I got
to go see my bookie tomorrow. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Early line, we have 6.5. So you have to deal with the line. I don't know. Well, we got 2 weeks to talk about it. We got 2 weeks.
Score.
Next week.
This is next week. Yeah, we'll help you in your gambling.
I may not be here next week because I'm going to be working on the preparations for the debut of the Stretch and Z program on Channel 9 at 10:30 on the 25th.
On that note.
He's been given a 10-day contract, by the way, for that show. It's similar to what the
10-day
NBA
contract.
does.
We'll be back in a moment.
Outlaw.
I know they're running, and they're running scared.
Step into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
They're not thinking clearly.
We cannot shoot anybody else. Only we.
Murderous.
There he was. Lying there with a knife in his back.
I bet it was a former inmate had something against him.
I'm just so glad it wasn't you.
On the next,
Not a man. One must make acquaintance.
Dangerous Women.
Monday night at 7 on Receptive Channel 9.
KFAN, Minnesota's #1 sports fan.
Sports Radio, 1130, KFAN, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Minnesota's sports fan.
What makes the family special is that every family is different. I'm Robin Robinson, inviting you to join the KMSP family as we explore what makes families work. We'll spend the next 2 years looking at families from around our neighborhoods and around the country. What creates harmony in one family and violence in another? What can we all do to help our kids look forward to a better tomorrow? It's these types of issues we're ready to examine on Family Works here on Receptive Channel 9.
Supporting the fight against arthritis is as easy as picking up the phone. Unless, of course, you have arthritis. Please call. Your help can make a difference.
True financial success is guaranteed only to those.
I was on that fast track to grad school, but I took a different turn and headed for Africa. I joined the Peace Corps. We're turning deserts into farmland.
Each one of you has the capacity to achieve greatness.
Sure, I'll head off to grad school at some point, but right now I'm learning things they just don't teach you in textbooks. And where in the States are you going to find a campus like this?
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Transportation for guests of Sports Fan Sunday, courtesy of Airport Sedan, the taxi alternative, and Limousines Limited. Call 341-4141.
We're out of time on Sports Fan Sunday. We want to thank our panelists, Mark Zelinovich of KFAN, Charlie Hallman of the St. Paul Pioneer Press. As always, Eric Nelson, great to be with you. Our live guest, Norman Green, owner of the North Stars, and you for watching Sports Fan Sunday. We'll see you again next week right here live from Champs in Minnetonka on Sports Fan Sunday.
No matter how good you feel, you can still benefit from whole grain nutrition. But of these leading cereals, only Wheaties is made with 100% whole grain. So no matter what you're shooting for, better get your whole grain.
I bet eat my Wheaties.
KMSP, Minnesota's most watched TV station.
Welcome to Hall of Film, where from time to time I have the pleasure of bringing you classics of the silver screen. Passion has always been the hallmark of every great actor. The man whose work you're about to see brings such intensity and such depth of feeling, you can't help but to be amazed by the way he exercises his craft. You can see the artistic commitment seeping from every pore in his body. This thespian was a rising star in his day, and Professor Anita Hill's testimony has thrust him back into the public spotlight. Tonight we bring you one of the biggest stars of them all, Long Dong Silver. He should be judged not by today's controversy, but by the objective viewpoint of history. Ladies and gentlemen, Seika and Long Dong Silver. Enjoy.
Okay, kids. Nice, lovely. Yes.
Wow, that's the first time anybody's ever seen a Long Dong Silver clip and said, boy, that was short. What did you expect, Roots? I can't show you anymore. Kick it, Sandy.